Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining. I'm super excited to be hosting this session, how recipe franchisees maximize profits, today in conjunction with Recipe. Want to thank everyone who has been involved and all the hard work that's gone into today. My name is Dan Nielsen. I'm the sales director at Push Operations. Joining me today is Dan Green. Dan is the Director of Operations for King Ranch Holdings, who currently has 10 locations on the Push platform, a mix between Kelsey's and Montana's. Dan, help me if I'm missing anything, but almost 20 years in the industry, manager, GM, multi-unit operator associated with Recipe, both at the corporate level and franchisee level.
Yeah, the multi-unit experience has all been at the franchise level, but did with corporate was a manager and a general manager at store level as well.
Awesome. Awesome. Thanks for joining us today. Last but not least, we also have Sarah Weber. Sarah is Push Operations National Accounts Sales Executive, who will be jumping in midway through, showcasing the platform for us all in a little bit. Before we do get going, though, some quick housekeeping. Feel free to drop in some questions throughout. Don't wait till the very end into the chat. We'll do our very best to get these answered in the event we have some time towards the end. If not, Sarah will be sharing her contact information and more than happy to jump on future phone calls or future Zoom videos to get anything answered that you guys might be looking for. Honestly, our goal here today is ultimately share real life stories using Push. What we're going to start by asking Dan a few questions, his experience, and then, like I said, transition into actually seeing the platform and how it's designed. But for those that might be a little bit unfamiliar, at a very high level, Push is Canadian-owned, operated people management platform specifically built for restaurants like yours. Our goal is to streamline, automate everything from scheduling, time tracking, payroll to HR. So you guys can get back to doing what you love in running the business, not buried in administrative tasks. So with that said, Dan, we're going to get going here. Put you in the hot seat a little bit. Before using Push, can you give everyone a glimpse of the tools that you're using to manage your day-to-day?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was using probably very similar tools to what the rest of the network currently uses. No different. I was using RMS for scheduling. We were using a different payroll provider to issue the payroll separate from RMS. So our scheduling and our payroll provider were two different organizations, as well as we were using primarily Indeed for applicant tracking, as well as job postings, etc.
Okay, awesome. And what made you start looking for a new system? Was there a specific moment or challenge that pushed you to switch?
I don't know if it was something specific that was like a catalyst that sent us for change. Although we were looking primarily for something to simplify our payroll process. That's what started the search. We had a lot of manual data entry between the outputs from the scheduling system we were using and what we brought it to. So to execute payroll, we wanted something a little more integrated that at a higher level just took care of that for us.
Awesome. Awesome. So fast forward, you've been using Push for a little bit now. What are some of the benefits that you've noticed since started using Push Operations?
Well, what started as just looking for something to execute payroll at a better clip and with a little more control and effectiveness and ease, turned out to finding out that there was a lot more available out there. And when we started looking at things like the onboarding process, our associate files, scheduling, time management, the arduous process of request offs and shift swaps and daily management. So really, like, Push has made those very simple for us. And if I were to call out a few like that stand out very strong, would be the associate files, and our onboarding process has changed dramatically. So those are two aspects that I draw benefit from on a regular basis.
Yeah, so let's slow down there and maybe do you mind giving us a glimpse into what your onboarding and orientation process looks like and how it has improved since working with Push?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, previous my onboarding process was probably very similar to what everybody is doing currently, where we had like a stack of papers. Someone would come in, we'd sit down, we'd go through like all the policies, the procedures, the files that need to get filled out, and sign all those off. And then the manager would then give a quick tour of the store, take the documentation back, and start entering it into the system. What was really neat, and again, not what we started looking for, but we're super happy to have now, is that all that is done electronically and in a way that resonates much more with our future associates. We actually send them an invite first to join our organization, where they have the ability to go in, and most of them, even before they show up for orientation day, fill out and sign off and complete all the documentation themselves. So they take care of all the entry, signatures, etc. And then that's all stored in our electronic file. And then orientation day is more of like a hands-on tour of the restaurant, a lot more engaging, as we're not sitting there just reading off policies together the whole time. I mean, there's a few that we still cover to make sure that we can look at each other eye to eye and have a real conversation about them, but the vast majority of the monotonous paperwork part of that is all handled well in advance. Not to mention, I know like I don't know if everybody suffers from this. I don't think I'm unique in my challenges, but occasionally we would set up and get the file ready and get everything ready to go at orientation day. And the individual sometimes would just happen to be a no-show. I mean, a little more in recent years than previous, but I would say now with that electronic invite sent out, if they don't answer that invite, it's pretty self-explanatory at that point as well. So it's helped a little bit in reduction of waste of time as well.
Yeah. No, we find that internally. We can go to the market with a lot of confidence and talk about exactly what you just said. We're eliminating that back booth in the restaurant, going in with your void check. Maybe you forgot it, maybe you don't, but sitting in, filling out all the forms, etc. And now using the push platform, you can get right into the specific training with how it's designed. So it's great to hear that that's something that you're taking advantage of for sure. Shifting away from they've been hired, they've been onboarded, you know, because we are a full cycle, not just sort of the HR, but the labor, the scheduling, but the payroll. Digging into the payroll a little bit, because I know that can be an arduous task. How long does it take you to execute payroll on your cycle?
Well, for anybody who does payroll on the call, you'll know that there's two types of payroll. There's like stat payroll on stat days and non-stat day payroll. And I would say stat day payroll is probably a little bit lengthier. I think one of the benefits of Push was that it uses the information it has in the ESA and like the schedule and time tracking to automatically qualify or quantify whether people qualify for stat. So going through that and manually going through clock ins, out, schedules, et cetera, to see if people qualify, it's reduced that down to next to nothing. So I would say like it can be as quick as like as long as the lead up steps from time, like verifying time clocks on a daily basis are done, it can be minutes, like 10 to 15 minutes for a store. But it's definitely not it's definitely a lot lighter work than it was before.
You know, not to put you on the spot too much, but what did that look like before using the push payroll?
Well, for us, we didn't use integration with our other payroll provider. So what we had was we would go through, we'd print out like the hours worked over the period of time, cross-reference that, and then again do that with stat pay as well. So sometimes multiple columns and some manual calculations, and then go and manually key enter all of that into our payroll provider so that checks could be issued. But now with this, like it's not doing it. So I would say you could probably reduction of 75%, like what used to probably take me 30 minutes, 45 minutes is now probably 10, 15 max.
Right, right. All going back to getting back to what you guys, whether you're an owner or a general manager looking to improve efficiencies, I mean, you guys don't get into the industry to run payroll in all likelihood. I'm making an assumption here, but um, the skill sets that you guys bring are on the floor guest experience. So if we can minimize that payroll time, that's music to our ears, certainly.
Not to interrupt, but something you called out there, and what was super shocking to me in dealing with it, because I mean, we've all had calls into help desks and know what that hold time is like and what that life is like. Like when I'm doing payroll, whenever I do run into hiccups, I'll say the call center times are very quick. And in addition to that, the person that I get on the phone can log right in and work with me while I'm going through things, and they'll often see things and give me like good advice on what I'm doing in the moment and help to fix my issue, not just slide me back with an email. So I think it's that was super beneficial as well, and again, a pleasant surprise.
Awesome. Well, I'll be sure to pass that on to our support manager. That'll be great. Big smile ear to ear, I'm sure. Um, Before we turn it over to Sarah, I probably just have a last question, and it's more in line with sort of the labor part of it. How has using Push helped you plan and execute your labor spend with us?
Well, there's like a litany of reports and components that are available to you that you can pull to mine the different data points that are there. That's a given. I think some of the unique things that also kind of save time, and again, as we use the scheduling module as well, that save time for us are I can create a schedule template, or my GM can create a schedule template and then issue that template out to their scheduling managers. So now it's more not about what shifts need to exist, but like the budget and financial structure that the GM created is now passed on to the scheduling managers. So then they're more like assigning the right associate to the right shift and working within people's availability to do that. Talk about time saving. They have the ability to copy that type of like house shift template and or their previous schedules and send them over to the next week over and over again as well. So there's some time saving there. But from a labor planning perspective, like the ability to create that is massive, because now it's not out of each manager's hands. It rests with the GM who's creating the financial plan for the week, and they're able to pass it on down.
Before we let you go, Dan, and turn it over to Sarah, maybe if you could just quickly summarize, just at a very high level of what it's been since Push has entered your day-to-day operations.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a couple years now, so to go back to those early days would probably be a little harder to remember. But I think like the managing the day to day like call-ins, the request offs, the shift swaps, all of that for our managers is very simple, as the associates have their handheld apps that they can deal with and post shifts up and just for approvals, etc. I think that's been great. The other thing that I think has been like, we didn't even touch on this, but that all my associate files are electronic now. So, like I said, all our policies and procedures are always signed. Like, there's never a lost file folder, or sometimes we have turnover in GM at some of our locations, whatever that is. Like, I'm never left hunting for something, nor do I have like bankers boxes or big filing cabinets filled with stale dated or old file folders anymore. And if I do happen to get that dreaded call from the labor board, like there is, I know that I've got the information necessary. It's back there. So it's been pretty helpful.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, Dan, this has been fantastic. I love hearing from current and happy customers. I appreciate you sharing stories, a little bit of an insight in how you are utilizing Push and really taking the time to do so. So thank you again.
No problem. Thanks.
Um, at this time, I'd probably like to introduce Sarah Weber. Sarah is our national accounts executive, as I previously mentioned. She's going to walk us through the Push platform at a high level, see all the capabilities it has. Again, should there be questions, please type them into the chat and we'll do our very best to get them answered for you. But also to reiterate that Sarah will be sharing her contact information afterwards, and we'll do our very best. Should we not be able to answer any questions, get those answered in a timely fashion. Sarah.
Awesome. Thanks, Dan and Dan, both ends. Appreciate it. Yeah, so I'm the account executive working with all of our recipe brands. And I do see some raised hands. I don't know if that's an accident or not, but if you do have questions, Might just save them till the end after I run through a couple things. We don't have too much time. I know attention spans can be low, so I'm gonna just try to demo a few of the most exciting pieces of push. And maybe we'll save questions, yeah, till the end. So before I jump in, just some background on what I'll show you. These are our apps, the different ways that you access the platform. So we are very cloud-based, very app-based. I'll mostly walk through the admin web app. That's where managers can create the schedule, track all your new hires, store all those employee documents Dan was talking about, run payroll. So again, it's a lot of systems all in one. So you're not flipping between different tabs and different systems. Now, we also have a manager mobile app. So if you are using us for scheduling, then, approving shift changes and stuff like that, and seeing your sales versus labor right on your phone, chat. And for the employees, both that scheduling piece where they can swap shifts and see their schedule, but also pay subs and how many hours they've worked in the pay period and that kind of thing. So just a little bit of background, but now I'll jump in. And I think I'll start with applicant tracking. So I'll try to go through the whole employee life cycle, and this is really where it starts. So create your job postings within Push. I'll click on one as an example. So here I'm in Sarah's Hideaway, by the way. I'm kind of in one location, but if you do have multiple locations like Dan, you just click down into the drop down and I could have various different companies that I own and manage here. And they would be branded separately as per your, Kelsey's or Montana's or what have you. So create that job posting. I can share with this link. So maybe embedding it on my website even. I don't know if you guys have the ability to do that necessarily, but some of our larger groups like Earl's do that. If you want to check out a live example, just go to their website, click apply now. You'll see a push job posting. But yeah, share that via email, or we're integrated with LinkedIn and Indeed. So we do push there. And then finally, another way that we're reducing using paper is with QR codes. So you can actually print this. And so for those people that are coming by with paper resumes, you can just say, hey, scan and apply on your phone. So we want to consolidate everything again in push in one place. So with this job posting, I can choose what I want to collect, their availability, what days can they work, and disqualify those that aren't qualified for the job with these disqualifying questions. So that could be, are they eligible to work in Canada? Or, do they have a couple years experience? You create those questions. You can create a polite rejection letter as well, so that we're only filtering through those candidates that are qualified and rejecting those that aren't, so that you don't have to look at hundreds of resumes if you're in a busy area and they're just not qualified. So here in the candidate dashboard, you can see who they are, what position they applied to, the status of that application, and where it came from, and click into them, and you've got all that information to work off of. So their resume, you can write notes internally, see if they've ever worked for you before or applied to work for you before, communicate from here, create interview questions. This could be like, maybe I'm a manager that's on vacation and I want another manager to ask questions. I can write those here so that maybe we're standardizing that hiring process. By the way, this is throughout the entire push platform. We have really robust permission levels, so we can decide who has access to view what, and it's very customizable, and you can have your own positions and cost centers and departments. So I could say, okay, I only want the chef to be able to view who's applying for back of house roles, for example. So you kind of choose who has access to which piece of the system that way. So that's really high level applicant tracking. Let's say I want to hire Dwight. I'll get into that digital onboarding process that Dan was talking about. So I'd click invite and send a position-based onboarding package, something that looks like this. So they'd get an email and go set up my account. If you're in Quebec, you can select French for your language. Yeah, this is where they're going to enter in all of the information that you need to collect from them before they start. So all their basic info, their SIN number, availability. This is where we're different from other softwares that do collect information, in that we're connected to scheduling and we're connected to payroll. So rather than, there's other tools out there that do this, but then it's stuck in a silo. Whereas with push, we're pushing the scheduling availability to the schedule. And soon I'll show you the direct deposit info and all of that. It's held, and we are the payroll provider. So that's where we're a little bit unique in that sense. Any documents you need them to attach based on their position, they'll attach. They can note expiration dates, and you can alert X manager X number of days before that certification expires. That does apply to working visas as well. I know that's really big, especially if in quick serve. A lot of, yeah, working holiday visas that you're trying to track. So if their SIN starts with a 9, that'll prompt them to put in a working visa. And so they can put in the expiration date. You can track that and how many hours they can work and so on. Okay. Direct deposit info. So again, we'll collect that. You can collect a void check and have them enter in the information into the field so that you check that it's matching. And then last step, any forms that you need them to fill out, like an employment contract, we can have them sign that as part of the process. Any other forms or SOPs that might be specific to your brand, and then the TD ones as well. So once they fill that out, someone, whoever you've chosen to receive an alert, receives an alert that so-and-so's completed onboarding. You can kind of review that, really just give them a position and a pay and flip them to onboarding. Flip them to active, sorry, and they're ready to be scheduled, they're ready to be paid. So yeah, really quick and easy way to get that information before they start. And then within their employee section, you kind of have all of their information, as Dan mentioned, kind of a digital file folder with all their files and any time off requests, performance reviews, or disciplinary action noted there. Yeah, so that's, I'd say, the core pieces of our HR module. Also HR employee tasks, that's another nice feature. So being able to send out forms separate from onboarding, like let's say some brand wants you all to fill out some form. You can send that out and track who's completed it and stuff like that. Performance reviews I touched on a little bit as well. Really important if you do have disciplinary action to have that noted somewhere. And again, if one manager is let go or leaves, then you have another one coming in, they can see all that information. It's stored nicely in one place. Okay, that kind of wraps up the HR module. Now jumping into scheduling, and I know there might be some brands that kind of have prescribed schedulers, so you can check on that internally, but a lot of our recipe brands do use us for scheduling, so I will kind of walk through the full cycle. We are integrated with various point of sale systems, all the big ones. So I'll just pop up costs here baked into the schedule. Whether that's Pixel Point or Squirrel or Maitre d', we're going to pull historical sales data and forecast future sales. So weekly and daily, that's what you're seeing here. For example, today, this is my labor forecast, my sales forecast, my forecasted sales per man hour. If you want to show that, you can kind of choose what to show here. And as I add shifts to the schedule, I can see if I'm scheduling any overtime or double time. Hopefully that's not happening. You can also see your total scheduled labor as a percentage of your sales. So here that might not be an important number you want a manager to stick to, and they can see that there. Before you go to publish the schedule, you can also see that again. I'll just go as if to publish the schedule. You can see for the week, your labor as a percentage of sales for the week and your sales per man hour. And if you have any remaining house shifts left that you need to assign. With the forecasting, I'll mention we're using machine learning now. So not just average of the last 4 weeks or year over year. We are using a combination of historical sales data and the weather. So we're integrated with the weather network, as you can probably see, for also just showing you if you're going to have a busy day for patio season and stuff like that. But yeah, using that for forecasting as well, sales, time of day, promotions, things like that. We can break that down a little bit further as well. So that was weekly and daily. Hourly, you could pull up the sales heat map and kind of see when your peak times are going to be, or even in more detail on the daily view. This is relatively new and really important for a lot of our quick serves who want to kind of forecast based on the hour and even look at 15-minute increments or 30-minute increments. This daily view is going to show you can set up a labor guide in the back end and kind of basically create a recommended ideal labor guide and say, I know I need X amount of team members scheduled based on X amount of dollars that are coming in hourly. And this will show you that. And then when your managers create the schedule, they can see kind of how far off they are. Or, oh, maybe I need to have more people scheduled or less people scheduled at this time. And they can kind of tweak a little bit. So yeah, that wraps up for the most part the scheduling in terms of forecasting. We do have a real-time sales tab as well, so we can show you, throughout the day, your sales increasing. Most of the POSs we're integrating with, we pull every 15 minutes. So yeah, you can kind of see that throughout the day, and then the SPLH that you land on at the end of the day and look back reporting as well. To touch on the manager app, you can see a little bit of that. So for the day, sales forecast, actual sales, scheduled labor, and actual labor right on your phone. And as managers, if you're a regional manager, you can flip between different locations and check out different locations. So nice to have the manager app and kind of approve things on the fly. So shift approvals as well, or approving time off requests, or even editing the schedule. You can do that now right on the fly on your phone. Yeah, so and then the employee app, I'll just touch on that really quickly. But because we are a scheduling software, but also payroll, they can see their schedule, do any shift swaps and stuff like that, but also see their pay stubs or T4s at the end of the year. ROEs, if you've let them go and they're no longer working for you, they can still kind of access the app and they're not calling you for that information. Yeah, availability requests, time off as well, since we're about to lead into payroll and how that's connected. If you have salaried managers, for example, they get 2 weeks vacation, some of them get 3 weeks vacation. If you're in BC and you're trying to track those BC sick days, we can track that through push. So the employees can just request that time off, note a reason, that goes out to a manager, and a manager can approve that. And when they do, it's linked to payroll. So you don't need to create the necessary earnings and deductions, and it's all tracked. You can run reports on that. Yeah, so that's scheduling more or less. I think I'll jump into time tracking now. So we've scheduled them, they clock in for their shifts. They can do that either on a tablet, so we don't require a lot of hardware, just a tablet if you want to have them clock in at the location, which most do. So this is downloadable on iOS or Android. We also do have the ability to have them clock in through the mobile device and set geofencing. So sometimes that might be salaried staff that are clocking in off-site that you want to track their hours or what have you. So that's a capability as well. Now I'll walk through what clocking in looks like and some of the features that we have. So they'll clock in, they can see what they're scheduled for, the clock time, the position, they can leave a note. And then some optional features, one of them is a message function. So if you want to notify them of the special or just something you want them to read when they're clocking in, we can position that. We can actually, in conjunction with the HR module, we can actually have forms signed through here as well. So I think this is especially good for large organizations that have like hundreds of employees. If you suddenly need to send out a form and get it signed really quickly, if you position it at clock in, you'll probably cycle through a lot of those people pretty quick. The survey function, this can be used as that. So ask any questions and run reports on these surveys. Or a lot of people are using this as a task checklist. So this can be positioned at clock in or clock out. So you can say, okay, have you wiped down the counters or closed out the register or locked up or whatever, custom questions. This feature is probably one of the biggest cost savers. So it's kind of our method of yeah, biometric verification to avoid buddy punching and time theft. So we have the photo feature and then also facial recognition. So if you have tons of employees, you don't have to click through and look, it'll just flag if it's not them. So, trying to avoid someone's friend clocking them in on the way to work if they're running late. But you can also see, are they in uniform? So I know we hear sometimes that there's issues with people, yeah, coming in and then go to the back room and they're on their phone. And this way you can kind of see if they're not in their toucan parka still and gonna go do that. Okay, so they clock in and then you just need to do your clock approvals, which some of that can be automated. So might be getting a little bit into the weeds, but in the back end, let's say you're clocking in just through a point of sale that's not connected to the scheduler. You might just have the ability to round up or round down by 15 minutes, that kind of thing. It's a little bit rudimentary. When you're connected to the schedule, you can set a buffer and say, okay, if they're clocking in within a few minutes of their shift, I just want to auto adjust to their schedule time and send it on. So it can reduce the amount of clock punches that you need to review and automate the ones that you're kind of comfortable, yeah, pushing through within that criteria. And we can also do things, of course, like automatically deduct 30 minutes for break after X amount of hours, or you could have them clock in and out for break. So a lot of different features I could go on, but I think I'll just give you an example of a clock approval and show you how that leads into payroll. So any of your clock approvals would be flagged. You can kind of choose who receives the notifications to approve those. And that can be done here, or as a manager, I can do that just right on my phone. So here, as an example, Phoebe, she clocked in. I can see her picture. Smiley face means facial recognition matching. In this case, not matching because it's my dog. But here, as an example, we can see really easily what Phoebe was scheduled to work and what her clock punch times were. Looks like she worked an extra 30 minutes. If I want, I can just click the clock to pull the clock time and then save it. That'll go to payroll. Or the schedule time, save it. That'll go to payroll. Or I can edit any clock entry. We do have a pretty good kind of audit trail or history within Push, so you can see which manager edited things. You can have managers write notes. So if your bookkeeper or accountant needs to ask questions, they can often see some of that there. But yeah, once you've done your clock approvals, then payroll becomes a breeze. So I have one waiting for me because it's a demo account, but this is what you'd see for running payroll. You just click run payroll for your next payroll cutoff date, and in about 3 to 5 seconds, your preview is generated. So we've calculated all of the hours. That the big difference here is you might be, if you're clocking in through a different system, you're having to maybe export a report and import into a payroll software, or sometimes leads to human errors. So here, all the hours just live in the same system. And as Dan mentioned, we're linked up to the stat regulations. That's automatically calculated over time as well. So all of your hours have been generated. And when you're ready, you click approve payroll. We pay out your staff. We pay your government remittances, things like WCB or WSIB, EHT in Ontario. So we kind of handle all that for you. So as far as the hours go, we've kind of calculated everything automatically, but of course you have the ability to add kind of, I don't know, a bonus, for example, or something else that's recurring on their paycheck that's not labor hours. You can either do that kind of one by one for specific employees, or upload a spreadsheet to do it a little quicker for a lot of people at a time. And we are connected to different accounting software. So for your journal entries, click a button, send it to QuickBooks Online or Xero, for example. Yeah, but payroll becomes really quick and easy. Now, I think I won't go too in depth into reports. Dan mentioned we've got a lot of them. I'll just mention a couple on a per location basis and then move to the enterprise dashboard. But one of the reports that I like is in relation to stat holiday. So yes, we're automatically calculating that when it comes to payroll, but you also might want to know, like, who should I schedule on that upcoming stat? And it's hard to know how much each of them would get paid based on how much they worked. So you can run a stat holiday report, and that'll show you for all of your employees who's eligible and who's not, and how much each of them would get paid if you do schedule them. So that's a good one to just save some time and kind of know who to schedule and make that not such a expensive day by accidentally scheduling all your super full-time staff. Another one is the sales versus labor report, just kind of filtering for any time period and looking at your sales versus labor and seeing kind of, where the money is going, broken down by department and cost center and position, and even further by each employee. So those are a couple, but I think I'll jump into the enterprise dashboard to wrap up the demo section. So if you have lots of locations, I think it becomes it becomes a lot easier to manage when you kind of have everything consolidated. So this is where if you have at least 2 locations, you can come in and see your sales forecast for all of those locations, your scheduled labor, actual sales, and actual labor for all of these locations. So in this example, I have 4 and I'm filtering for this week. That's what I want to look at, but I can tweak that date range and decide kind of, what time frame I want to look at. Within the enterprise dashboard, there's some reports. Now, these reports would be on an organizational level again. So some of the reports I really like are turnover reports. So whenever someone goes to leave and you go to deactivate them, you'll be prompted to note a reason, or the manager will. And that means we're tracking all of those reasons that someone's leaving. So then you can run a report and track reasons and see at which location I'm having more turnover and why are they leaving. So it can just help you drill down into that a little bit, which we know is costly and hard to track. There is a global applicant tracking section as well, which is kind of great for multi-location, multi-brand. You can actually create those job postings that I showed you earlier in the global applicant tracking section and then publish them. So if you want to standardize your language for a bartender hire or something like that, posting, you can create them there and then just publish them to all your different accounts. So it saves time and kind of standardizes that process. Okay, I'm going to wrap up with the BI tool since it's new and exciting. I don't know if Dan's even on the BI tool yet, but this is basically our new custom reporting tool where we can take any data point in the system and create custom dashboards, custom visualizations to view that information. So if you get the BI tool, it'll include some canned kind of templated views that you could look at. For example, the ATS, we're kind of tracking like where should I be spending more? Where am I getting the most ROI? Which platform should I be trying to hire more staff from? So that's the ATS dashboard. There's weekly operations as an example, just a few of the metrics you might want to track and see on a location to location basis, like SPLH. Or operations yearly. That's another canned report. And then maybe I'll just click on this one actually as an example that I created. This is kind of a little health check I created to compare my sales forecast versus actuals. And these are drill down reports. So I can click into it and then look at my different locations and see, yeah, who's performing. Overtime as well, probably a really common metric that we're tracking here. Click into that and take a look at my different locations and see who's incurring the most overtime. Yeah, I think that's a last thing I'll mention about BI tool. We can also send these reports at a certain cadence. So you can say, I want to send this report out daily to this owner or this manager, or this report weekly or monthly. So saves managers, if we have any managers on the call, from having to remember to save those, and then saves the owners from having to, yeah, ping them to remind them and so on. So custom reports, I'll maybe even just show you since I think I have time, but you can just grab a visualization, choose what data you'd like to use. Like maybe I'm going to put all my different companies in rows here. Let's grab maybe some sales data, sum of sales. Let's say I want to look at SPLH. Okay, and then what do I want to look at? A bar graph. This is probably, yeah, I have about 200 fake accounts in here, so this is way too much to look at, but you get the idea. I could choose if I want to look at a pie chart or whatever kind of report, save that to my dashboard and choose how often I want to send that out. Yeah, I think that's at least a good overview. So I'll jump back here. Yeah, so we are offering 3 free months to anyone who's on here and wants to sign up. So a little bonus for registering and showing up today. Thanks so much. Really appreciate you guys tuning in. And maybe now, I don't know, Dan, if you've consolidated any questions in the chat, we could try to answer some
Yeah, we
questions that
do
came
have
up.
a few questions here, Sarah. So maybe between the two of us, we can get them sorted. Um, the first one comes from Andrew. Does Push work with Micros? And yes, we do have a partnership with Micros. So many POS providers and partnerships that we do have. That is in fact one of them.
Yeah.
From Anonymous, do all associates have to do direct deposit? The answer is no. So you can have some. We would encourage direct deposit. It is sort of the way of the world these days, but understand there's circumstances that may not allow for that. So we will accommodate those situations, of course. Okay. Another one from Anonymous. Does it remit source deductions within 3 days biweekly if that's required by CRA?
Yeah, maybe I can take that offline. I know it is different for different companies, but definitely we do remit the source deductions and kind of, yeah, in coordination with regulations. But yeah, happy to look into that further if it's kind of a case by case situation.
And then Andrew followed up with the Micros question. I have Swiss and Harvey's, so it will work. The answer is yes, and we'll be working very closely with anyone that comes in, has complexity to it, and we'll do our very best to work side by side to make sure that the decisions that you guys are making for your operations are the right ones, of course. That Oh, so no, we got a couple more here. Would this be a complete replacement to RMS aside from inventory? We do consider ourselves an all-in-one platform, but I'll understand that Recipe has some guidelines that you guys are working within. So we of course would respect that, and if it's only certain modules that make sense to roll out for certain groups, we'd be happy to have those conversations.
Yeah, and just to add to that, in terms of the capabilities of Push, we do not do inventory. So we do the scheduling side, but not the inventory. In some cases, we have some integrations where we push labor data back and stuff like that. I'm not sure if RMS is one of those, but we could look into it.
Another individual would love sort of a circle back on the deductions question. So we will compile sort of that information and certainly get back. Got another one from Anonymous here. Payroll can be linked with Sage 50 and we'll post the payroll entries in Sage itself.
Let me check. There's certain models of Sage that we do and we don't. So maybe I'll take that one offline and hopefully I can contact that person. After this, I will be sharing with Recipe a lot of information and pricing and stuff like that. So I'll include my contact details. And if we don't manage to connect with you, please connect with me.
So, and then do we work with crunch time? Is a question from.
I think not yet, but I think we're building some sort of integration with them. I've heard whisperings of.
Great. Okay. As Sarah mentioned, we will be following up. If there's specifics on cost, we will be sharing that with Recipe head office. And again, the value, sorry, not the value, the promotion is there that we can get into should you guys all wish to see a deeper look. We know we went very high level today, but I think it is important in any decision-making process to sort of sit down and really determine if it's going to work for your brand and for your group. I want to take a moment to once again thank everyone for joining. A lot of hard work from internal teams, both here at Push and Recipe, for putting this together. Thank you, Dan Green, for carving out some time and being a speaker for us. And thank you to Sarah for showing us the platform, and encourage once again everyone to, if you'd wish a deeper look from additional questions, we will be in touch sharing some contact information, and we will proceed accordingly from there.
Thanks,
Great.
everyone. Appreciate your
Thank you
time.
everyone for your time.